The resort was 5 years in the planning stage, hampered by resident and environmental protests, but finally got the go-ahead about 18 months ago. The $30 million marina resort complex at Corlette opened last December and has traded successfully through the peak holiday and game fishing season. But now subcontractors who were engaged by the company that built the resort claim they haven't been paid. The company, Centennial Constructions, went into receivership earlier this month. Anchorage Director Ian McAndrew says Centennial Constructions had been paid to carry out the work and that an urgent meeting of directors would try to find out where the money went. In the meantime, builders whose claims total $900,000 have withdrawn their services from final commissioning work on the anchorage. Andrew Lobb, NBN News.
Lauren is the toast of Rutherford High. As the school's only disabled student, she's managed to combine strong academic results and a newfound love of sport. Every break between classes, she heads straight for the gym to keep her basketball skills in tune. 4 years ago, a previously healthy Lauren woke one morning to discover she had no feeling from the waist down due to the sudden onset of a virus. She then turned her hand to sport as therapy.
At first I didn't want anything to do with it, but now once I tried it I really liked it and I just want to keep going with it.
In the national titles, Lauren won silver in the discus and a gold medal for shot put and javelin. But she says the javelin training hasn't been without its hitches.
Yeah, I hit the cat with my javelin. She always chases after my javelin, so I just threw it and hit her.
Any permanent damage to pussy?
No.
And the long hours of practising haven't detracted from the 13-year-old's studies.
She's been quite an outstanding member of the school and has always given everything she's got and a bit more, so that this was a matter of time, I suppose.
But Lauren isn't going to sit around with just a few national medals to her credit. She's now training to join the Australian basketball team to compete in the American Nationals later this year. Darren Curtis, NBN News.
About 7 o'clock last night, a 36-year-old New Lambton man was riding his bike along Maitland Road towards Newcastle. His bicycle was hit from behind by a car, pushing him head first into the road and onto the guardrail. His helmet shattered with the force. Although he broke his back and suffered multiple fractures, remarkably he escaped without head injuries.
I believe personally that his rider's helmet has saved him from significant head injuries in this collision.
The driver of the car fled the scene without helping the injured bike rider. Police want both people who saw the accident and those who did stop to help the man to contact the Accident and Investigation Squad at Newcastle.
There were a number of cars, 3 in fact, that were first on the scene. They were there very shortly after it happened. And we'd like to speak to those drivers too, in case they have seen something that may help us in our inquiries.
The injured man is in a serious but stable condition in the John Hunter Hospital. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
Member for Coffs Harbour, Andrew Fraser, was on hand this afternoon to unveil the plaque and declare the Baringa Cardiology Centre officially open. The centre says it has the latest equipment, including a new transesophageal service. Sounds complicated, but it's quite straightforward.
It's the first of its type in Australia. Basically, we can examine your heart very closely and see what's wrong with it and diagnose what should be done.
Both public and private patients will have access to the centre. President of the Australian Cardiac Association, Keith Riddell, says it will be an asset to the Coffs Harbour area.
I think the facilities that are here are world class. They are certainly on par with what I have seen at St Vincent's Hospital in Sydney. It will prevent the necessity for patients having to travel away from home for further medical treatment, which will be now available right here in Coffs Harbour.
Polo cross was developed in Australia and is now a strong rival to polo. Things may be tough on the land, but that hasn't slowed them when it comes to their sport. Despite the cost, they've continued their breeding stock programs and are turning out better and better mounts. Today, Maxville in the red and Central Coast team Matcham slogged it out in one of the feature rounds. Matcham put up a good display, but Maxville just had too much skill and won 9-5. The finals are on at the showground tomorrow. Charlestown ran on looking like winners. Captain Sam Stewart very casual about the encounter. It didn't take long for that relaxed field to be converted to points through Craig Hammond. But they became a little too complacent and poor ball handling soon became costly. The Cheetahs then hit their straps and scored after a Carl Hughes bomb. From there, the floodgates opened and the Cheetahs were looking pretty sleek. The tries soon started rolling in, only minutes apart. The final score, Waratah Mayfield 42, Charlestown 16. In today's other game, Lakes beat Curry 36-24.
Max and Mari Price have seen the changing fortunes of Swansea for the best part of 30 years. Max came to the town as a footballer in the 50s and stayed. He and Mari have worked side by side in the branch since it opened. In that time they've seen the punters place millions, some big betters, others plotters. They're as much for a chat as they are for the chance of a win or just to break even.
We can practically call everyone by their first name.
Yes, it gets to be that way, and you know their children and their extended family, and you sort of hear all their troubles and their joys.
I've never realised that people cared so much.
The Prices may be calling it a day, but according to Max, it's odds on their daughter may get a start running the business.
I've got my fingers crossed. She's done her interview this morning, and on what I see, her material, I can't believe that they couldn't give it to her.
Unbiased view.
The tip for the footy fans as well. Graduates will carry with them for years the sound of applause in a packed auditorium. 1,500 proud family members, friends and university staff left standing room only. Others crowded about TV monitors to see off students in the faculties of engineering, science, mathematics, economics and commerce. Almost 3,000 Students will graduate from the university's 13 faculties, including the first group from the Central Coast Bachelor of Business course. 8 sessions will be held over 2 weekends. Nursing, medicine and health sciences ceremonies commence from 10 tomorrow morning.
An army of volunteers is making sure that all will be in order for the draw on Sunday evening, right after the news, accounting for 375,000 tickets sold and ensuring that all butts will be in the barrel. First ticket out will win the house and land package at Corlett on Port Stephens, along with a pool, furniture and electricals, with insurance and removal paid for. Second prize is a Holden Nova motor car, and third ticket out will receive a year's supply of buy-low groceries. The draw was delayed following the telethon in aid of cancer treatment on the 12th and 13th of March to enable the last of the ticket books to be returned. But come Sunday night, right after the 6 o'clock news, all will be revealed.
In farming circles, there's always a things can get better. At Tocal near Patterson, the small farm field days show a sign in the future.
Despite difficult times on the land and the recession, the field days have continued to grow.
The field days started out in 1984 with a crowd of just 3,000 people. Last year they topped the 20,000 mark, one of the biggest exhibitions of its type on the east coast of Australia. The 3-day event started today with the latest bits and pieces for running the farm. Ideas on new agricultural ventures like worm farming, yabby farming, buying a few head of deer.
Could I have venison pie, please?
Certainly, ma'am. There you are.
Thank you.
This bloke has a special treat for ladies hoping to relive a fairy tale. The Tocal Field Days are open to all comers, city slickers and country folk alike. It finishes on Sunday. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Speed car racing provides just what the fans want to see. Plenty of spills. The driver in this prank simply got out and walked away uninjured. With the 2-week forced layoff because of the wet weather, the drivers will be busting to get back into it. Another crowd pleaser on Saturday night will be the Demolition Derby. Drivers will slam into each other until only one is left going and able to collect the $3,000 winner's cheque. Plenty of cash to spend on those chiropractic bills. The meeting starts at 6 o'clock this week, trying to beat the crisp winter chill.
After final touches were applied in the make-up room, these volunteers became patients in the annual core competition and inspection held at Dorrigo Primary School. The weekend event is highly competitive, with units travelling from throughout the northeast.
We ask the members to come along, meet each other, because people come from great distances apart. We have people from Kingscliff, we have them from Taree, we have them from Tamworth and Armidale.
Although the wounds are artificial, all efforts are made to simulate the trauma of real-life accidents and emergencies. Competitors are judged on how effectively they treat patients, the exercise giving younger members of St John Ambulance the opportunity to improve their first aid skills.
Boggabri farmer Ken Dampney was one of the farmers who was forced to sell some of his cattle at the Narrabri sales.
Because the drought conditions, we've got to start hand feeding, they'll get nothing else, and the young cattle, no use letting them get poor and die.
Stock agent Paul O'Reilly is well aware of the difficulties faced by farmers.
These cattle here today, they wouldn't be here, but the droughts put us under a fair bit of pressure, a lot of pressure actually, and it's a one-way ticket for them.
The cattle are being sold to people from further south of the town, but what will those farmers who've sold their stock do when the drought is over?
We start all over again, travel the country, try and buy them back again, I guess.
The roaring sound of motorbike engines was music to the ears of two charities. Tamworth Base Hospital and the Children's Medical Research Foundation will split the funds raised by the police bike riders. The police estimate up to $20,000 was raised from the one-day trek from Sydney. The event was first held last year, with 80 police riders taking part and $3,000 raised. But like all good causes, it's gained momentum, and more than double that number took part this year.
Fantastic.
The reason for the long trip is Bathurst was selected as this year's venue for the Country Divisional Championships. It may have been a few hundred kilometres from home, but that didn't dampen the rivalry of the under-19s. Central Coast showed plenty of grit to score, but after that they kept dropping the ball whenever they got close, bombing some great lead-up work. Newcastle played no frills footy and got the points on the board, winning 28-8. In the under-17s, Newcastle lost 12-8 to Western Division. And at Raymond Terrace today, the Knights took out the frustration of having a weekend off by shooting each other in a game of paintball. Even the trainers got in on the act. One of the first casualties, Coach David Waite. He copped one right between the eyes.
The station was launched last night at an appropriate hour, 9:29 set aside to throw the switch. It's been a long time coming, but staff were ready with the champagne. The $2.5 million studios have been operational for the past year, sharing space with 2TM. FM 92.9 will target the 18 to 39 age group, while 2TM is aiming its music talk program at the 40s and over. On-air personalities set out to share the celebrations with partygoers, tuned to the new beat.
The popularity of the game in the area has justified the building of 4 synthetic all-weather courts. They've already received a seal of approval from one of Tuncurry Tennis Club's rising stars, Ian Boulevard. The 9-year-old is just old enough to hold a tennis racket with one hand, but displays skills far beyond his tender age. The new courts are a joint venture between Tuncurry Leagues Club and the Tennis Club. Most of the money came from the sale of land where the club's old courts lay. The courts will also be available to the public. Playing on their home ground, Tamworth Magpies left little room for pity against the Pirates. Within the opening 20 minutes of the game, the Magpies in the black and white had put 26 points on the board. The home side kept the Pirates scoreless, going to the half-time break, leading 26-0. The scoreboard didn't start ticking over again until the last 20 minutes of the second half. With the Magpies having the majority of the ball, everything seemed to go their way. Some solid play from the backs and excellent form in the forwards saw the tries continuing, like this one by centre David Bailey in the corner. The Magpies also dominated in the scrums, pushing the Pirates all over the park. The Magpies ran out the winners 53-3, continuing their undefeated record for the season. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
When a group of Italian farmers set out to colonise a small island in the Pacific, they had no idea they'd be putting down roots on Australia's north coast. The Pacific venture went horribly wrong. A rescue mission delivered a couple of hundred survivors to what is now known as Little Italy, where they prospered by cultivating the land. 2,000 people, including many descendants of those settlers, gathered for the opening of an Italian history pavilion near Woodburn. The Italian Consul-General Dr Donatis, Governor-General Bill Hayden and the State Minister for Natural Resources Ian Causley were among the official guests. The site is shared with the Coraki Aboriginal Arts and Crafts Centre. Guests enjoyed displays and festivals throughout the afternoon.
The winner, Jack Morris, was from Western Australia and was a 4-6 favourite. Warrior Khan was at 8-1 and third place Blossom Lady was 9-1. Crown Print got over the line first, then Royal Dolphin and Sir Magic was third. Racing was also a Gunnedah yesterday. Our feature event is race 6, the NBN Television Handicap, over 900 metres. And the placings there were 5, 2 and 1.
This is the winning entry's vision for residential development in the inner city of Newcastle. 3 Sydney architects, Bastos, Hockman and Petrowski, won the design competition, earning themselves $30,000 in prize money and providing a new look for the Honeysuckle site.
What our design should ultimately bring to Newcastle is an improved lifestyle for existing residents and new residents.
However, the winning entry won't be the blueprint for Honeysuckle. Guidelines for urban planning will be drawn from the best ideas from all the entrants.
What's important is that we have a cohesive overall design for the total site to enhance the value of individual housing units built within it.
It was World War II and many of those present today were on the HMAS Hobart, fighting a Japanese invasion from the north.
It saved Australia from certain attack and certainly a great possibility of an invasion by Japanese forces.
It was the first naval battle in which ships didn't sight each other. Aircraft carriers brought planes to the region and the battle occurred in the air. Those who died were remembered.
Hong Kong's new international airport will be built on the island of Chek Lap Kok, and explosives tested at Mount Thorley will be used to level the island. It is the largest civil works project of its kind now under construction in the world. Blasting has begun on the island, which today rises 70 metres above sea level. It will be reduced to a height of 7 metres, with the blasted rock to be used as landfill. Over a period of 2.5 years, some 40,000 tonnes of explosives at a cost of $37 million will be used in the project, all supplied by the Dino Wesfarmers Company after testing at the company's technical centre at Mount Thorley. The company says the airport contractors and the mining industry in general recognise the explosive technology as innovative. The project is due for completion in 1997, replacing Hong Kong's congested Kai Tak Airport, which now caters for more than 20 million passengers a year.
This is the area set out for logging, 90 hectares of old-growth trees in the Bulga State Forest north of Taree. The protesters say the government is selling off precious natural resources for short-term gain.
I think that's the principal objective, fast money. To look at longer-term investment, we'd be looking at plantations, we'd be looking at planting trees on degraded land, and there's a great abundance of degraded land in this part of the country.
Today, about 40 protesters blocked off a timber route, hijacking a lorry bringing out logs from another forest region. The police were called and the driver and vehicle were eventually allowed to move on. The conservationists believe their last hope is a fauna impact statement, which is to be released on Thursday. Protesters say if the logging goes ahead, it will signal the start of a major battle. Conservationists from across the state coming here to Elands to protect the forest. Tonight, the Forestry Commission stated it was not prepared to defer work in the area, arguing it has a licence to log. The protesters are angry other alternatives aren't being canvassed, believing there is more future in tourism rather than felling timber.
Tourists will always be coming into Australia. If there's no virgin forest to look at, you've lost a major resource for the country.
This is the land at issue. It's situated in the catchment area of the nearby heritage-listed Wamburrel Lagoon. A Sydney-based consortium has lodged a development application with Gosford City Council to build a caravan park to accommodate more than 160 mobile homes. Residents are outraged. They believe the park, which will butt onto their backyards, will have adverse environmental and social effects.
Used to be some cabins across the road, and there was only 10 to 12 cabins there, and there was lots of antisocial behaviour. The police were called many times. There's not a lot of amenities in the area, so people get bored, they wander the streets. Things like that were happening. Lots of break-ins, vandalism.
It is runoff and siltation and nutrients which will be carried from the roads and the hard ground concrete that goes in. There is too much already feeding into Wamburrel Lagoon.
Gosford Mayor Robert Bell says the issue will be seriously considered.
At the moment we've got an extensive paperbark forest there, so we need to have development which is sympathetic to the environment in which it finds itself.
He expects the proposed development to go before council within the next 3 weeks. Catherine Lamond, NBN News. Max Winter says 10 years ago, pods of dolphins played in the Brisbane water on a daily basis. Now they're nowhere to be seen. Max, a wharf builder by trade, spends most of his days on the water. He believes one of the main reasons for the dolphins' disappearance is the poor water quality. So Max and local businessman Patrick McNally have decided it's time to try and bring the dolphins back. The first step, they say, is cleaning up the waterways and foreshores.
Over the years, what we've done to our own backyard is not look after it. We've used it and we've probably abused it.
With funding from Gosford City Council, they've launched a campaign called Bringing Back the Dolphins. Stage 1 involves inviting school children to design a dolphin logo and monthly newsletter.
We'll have monthly water activities as well, so monthly water activities will bring people down to the waterfront, not to clean up other people's garbage, but to have a good time and then clean their own up.
Mr McNally believes this will engender community spirit and pride. He also claims tourism will flourish, with people visiting Gosford in the hope of seeing a dolphin. And while in town, the money they spend would boost the local economy. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
It's believed Doug Carley has been considering his position as mayor for some time. The announcement he will resign came just under an hour ago after a series of meetings during the afternoon with council staff. A spokesperson says the decision was made for health reasons, with Alderman Carley believing he can no longer carry out his job effectively. Alderman Carley has yet to comment on the decision. All aldermen are being contacted and advised of Alderman Carley's move. They're being told there will be a by-election nomination for both the mayoral position and that of alderman. Mayor Carley's resignation follows a dramatic series of events during the past month. He returned from an extended Easter holiday in Fiji to face an angry ALP caucus, which publicly voiced its disapproval at his behaviour. Under pressure from the rest of the party, Alderman Carley resigned from the ALP 4 days later. He also lost the support of council, with a vote of no confidence in his performance passed overwhelmingly. However, until this afternoon, he was determined to stay on as mayor. It's not known what prompted his sudden decision. However, in a statement released a short time ago, he blamed unrelenting media attention on his family and one other family. Jodie McKay, NBN News.